In this video, I'm going to be showing you more examples of graphing sine and cosine functions, but now ones that have negative a values. So we're going to follow the same steps as we have up here, determine amplitude, period, shifts, all of these steps, and we're just going to use the negative side of our little chart here. So here we have y equals -2 sine of x over 2. The first step we need to do is determine amplitude, period, shifts, reflections, etc. So a, in this case, is the number in front of sine. It is 2. Our amplitude is always written as a positive. The negative means it has a reflection. But when you write out your amplitude, you would never write it as having a negative. Next is period. So period, formula for period, 2 pi over b, very important formula. So here, what is our b value? Well, I know b is whatever is in front of x, but I'm not seeing anything in front of x. Right now I'm seeing something under x, but not in front of it. So how can we rewrite x divided by 2? Well, x divided by 2 is the same thing as x times 1/2. So now when I write it like this, now it has a number in front, and that's our b value. So anytime you see x over 2, that's the same thing as 1/2 times x. So b would be 1/2. Period would be 2 pi divided by 1/2. What we do here, keep the top, change division to multiply, flip the bottom. 2 pi times 2 over 1, which equals 4 pi. So 4 pi is my period. Next, if there's a vertical shift, we don't have one. If there's a horizontal shift, we don't have one. The reason we don't have one is because we're not adding or subtracting anything on here. Oh, and we forgot about reflections. So there is a reflection here. And we might just want to circle the negative so we don't forget to do that. So divide the period by 4 to get the first number for your x-axis, which also gets us our scale. So here's my period. Once again, I'm going to do it in a different color so we don't get confused. So our scale here is 4 pi divided by 4, which just equals pi. 4 for 4 is 1. So our scale is pi. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4. When we create our scale, our first number here is pi. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to count 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Easy enough. 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Next, we are going to use the amplitude to label the y-axis. So our amplitude is 2, so that means we need to go up 2, down 2, down, -1, -2. So once we have that, create the pattern of vertical points based on the chart below. So our function is a sine function. And now, because we have a reflection, because we have a negative, here is a positive or negative, it's negative, which means it has a reflection. So instead of going x to a maximum, we go x to a minimum. So starting at the y-axis still, we still start at the same point. So we start right here at the x-axis, but then our pattern says x to min, and then back to x. So our next dash over is a minimum, and our next dash over is an x-intercept, and then a maximum, and then an x-intercept. Once we have that, we can connect the points in this curve. Be sure to put your arrows on the end. Moving on, we have another example. Now in cosine, so what if cosine's negative? So go through the same thing. Amplitude, period, all that good stuff. So amplitude here is 1 because there's not a number in front of cosine. So if there's not a number, that means that A is 1. Period is 2 pi over b. My b value is 4. So that means we have pi over 2 as a period. So once we find amplitude and period, we have a reflection, we can circle it, we don't have any shifts. So we skip steps 2 and 3, we go right to finding the scale. So my scale is pi over 2 over 4. Now pi over 2 divided by 4 is the same thing as pi over 2 times 1/4, which equals pi over 8. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start with pi over 8. So we have 1 pi over 8, 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8. So 2 pi over 8 becomes pi over 4, 3 pi over 8, and 4 pi over 8 becomes pi over 2. So notice when we do this that we always end. Our last number should always match our period, because our period is one full cycle. So just a way to check yourself. All right, now we want to use our amplitude. Amplitude is 1, go up 1, down -1. Going over here, we forgot to put the asterisk. We're going to do it this time. 1 and -1. And then we're going to go through and do the points. So cosine, negative, we're going to start at a minimum and then go to an x-intercept. So on the x-axis, we start at the minimum, x-intercept, maximum, x-intercept, back to minimum. And we connect the dots. And if you compare it to your examples from the top here, you'll see that the curves are reversed. And that's what happens when you have a negative a value.